Well, so up to now, people have talked about fake news, people have talked about disinformation, and most of it has been essentially tech-centric. So while we haven't even begun to understand how to deal with tech-centric disinformation, what's coming now down the line is multimedia-centric disinformation. So multimedia-centric disinformation has to do with fake images, fake videos, with sound, people saying things they never said, people doing things they never did. So, and not only that, but when you combine that with the fact that it's becoming cheap and easy for anybody to produce that, you start to understand that your adversaries, or the people who you need to be worrying about, are not just another country, but it could be basically anybody. And not only could it be anybody, it could be a nation state, it could be a group of any kind, it could be a guy in a garage. So not only is it anybody, but you're going to be having multiple actors with multiple agendas pushing all sorts of things simultaneously, so that the level of pollution in the information environment is about to explode, and it will suffocate us if nothing is done. And in fact, if you look at the essence of any kind of a democratic system, it's based on an informed public. It's based on an informed public making decisions based on information. Well, what happens when the public is mostly disinformed? Then where is your democracy then? And that's where we're headed. So as opposed to depending on regulation, or the government trying to regulate Facebook or Google or anybody else, so the idea is, and also opposed to the idea of people taking personal responsibility, because most people are not going to actually be capable of taking personal responsibility. So instead you provide them some help, some automated help. So now I supply digital alter ego. The idea is I supply each person with a personalized AI type program, which what it does is it records everything you do, it watches everything you do, and it doesn't share the information with anybody, it's strictly for your own use. And what it does is it analyzes the information the same way Google and Facebook and everybody else are analyzing the information to determine what's the best way to sell you something. So it does the same kind of analysis, and it calculates what your cognitive vulnerabilities are based on its observation of you. It creates a user model of you, and then what happens is when it detects a story coming towards you, which it can see is designed to attack one of your cognitive vulnerabilities, it's designed to, play off of one of your emotional prejudices, it can see that, and not only will it warn you, but it can warn you in terms that you can relate to, okay? Because it has a model of you as a person and what you relate to, so it knows how to formulate the warning, as opposed to just a warning that's good for everybody. A warning isn't uniformly useful for all people. It has to be, even the warning itself has to be personalized, and that's what this thing can do. So that's the general concept. So that's one aspect. And of course, another aspect has to do with sort of general conditioning of the population, all right? And so to make you resilient against something that's not good, right? So if somebody's conditioned you so that when you hear something really that's wrong or bad, it's not that you're going to be analyzing it to reject it, you're going to just be having an emotional reaction against it because you've been conditioned to react against that sort of thing. That will be effective. Relying on people themselves, most people, to do analytical dissections of things that they hear, it's just not very realistic. So that's why this kind of additional automated assistance will help. And that's the idea of digital alter ego, for example. Part of the problem is, for the government to be involved, and you want to give people the right kind of messaging. So part of the problem today is, okay, who's going to decide what the right kind of messaging is? Who in the government even? I mean, if you were going to leave it to the government, which I don't recommend, but if you were, exactly who would decide what the message is? Because the people who are most effective at disinformation, or dictatorships, or other kinds of governments, is because they're consistent with their messaging, and they have powerful messages, they're emotional, they use emotional techniques, but they're consistent. The messages are clear and just over and over and over again. So in order for somebody to improve our situation, okay, well, you have to decide what's the messaging that you want to put out. And so that's the first place you need to start. So it is not even about how to get it out, but what it is you're going to get out. That's the first question. And then you have to understand what the vulnerabilities are of the people, how you exploit them, and I'm going to use the word exploitation because that's at the end, if you want to be effective, what you're actually doing. It isn't reasoned arguments, it's actually exploitation. Well, first of all, it has to do with deciding what the right message is. So they need to decide what message they really want to put out to the public. And then they have to be consistent and powerful about putting it out. I mean, it's really what it comes down to. And they also have to realize that it isn't a one-time thing. It has to be continuous, it is non-stop, and it is forever. There's no, I come up, I say what I have to say, and then I'm done. No. You get up and you have what you have to say again and again and again and again and again and again, and in every possible form you can put it. But that's the only way you ever get anything out. You have to relate to the people you're trying to get to. You have to size them up. You have to understand how they work. And the more individualized you can make it, obviously, the more effective it is. And the tools today, technology tools, actually enable you to really personalize the message. So we're in an age when it comes to messaging of sort of mass customization. That's what the tools allow today, and that's what you really need to do.